There's been quite a few changes in your career over the last couple years. What has that whole journey kind of been like for you?
Um, I mean, to go from thinking I was retired for good, to where it's at now, I mean, there's no way I could have predicted any of that. Still kind of like I don't think about it much, honestly, but I feel like um maybe when I'm done, I'll actually stop, sit down with it, kind of process it all. But just in looking at it, it's been pretty crazy, but all in good ways. I've said this entire comeback from day one on has been just a bonus.
Yeah.
So no matter what I do or you know what matches I've had, this, that, and the other, they're all bonus at this stage. So for me, even just getting in the ring is a success. But the minute I walked out at the Royal Rumble there in 2020, it was already, for
Yeah.
me, it was already a
Right.
dream come true. It was a success. So anything after that is just, absolute bonus.
And talking about bonuses, and it was funny because when I saw you in the ring with Christian and I was talking with someone, I was like, only in wrestling could you get this kind of long-term storytelling. What is it like to be working with Christian again? Or
I
Jay?
mean, yeah, yeah. It's so much fun. I guess we were able to get that moment at the Royal Rumble in 2021, but no audience,
Yeah.
and it felt like a shame. Like there's very few things I look back on and look at with a little bit of regret. One is that the other is the match with Randy Orton at Backlash, because I feel
Mm,
like if those were in front of audiences, um, they could have been really special moments. And not to say they still weren't, just
mhm.
different, right? Um, I don't think anyone really goes back and watches pandemic wrestling now.
I haven't.
Because yeah, right. Because
Yeah.
the audience is so much a part of what we do.
Hmm.
They're in the ring with us essentially. So to get to do this now, especially I'm retired for 9 years. He's retired for 7 years. We both think we'll
Yeah.
never do this again, and to be able to do it now in a different company where he has all the governors off of him.
Yeah.
This is the Christian that was always there but never given a proper
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really exciting. And to butt up against that, come on,
Yeah.
I feel like a kid in a candy store.
It writes itself, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And I feel like where we're both at now in terms of our storytelling, in terms of what life experiences we bring to the table
Yeah.
now too, it's a completely different animal than it was when the very few times that we ever had storylines against each other before.
And one other thing, I talked to Paige about, I guess it was a week or two ago. And one thing that stood out to me from one of the many things she's tweeting and has going on with her social media is she talked about looking at one side of the ring and seeing you, and on the other side of the ring seeing Daniel Bryan,
Yeah.
and more or less called you guys in the ring to take a photo. And you guys all have similar stories. What what kind of conversations have you had with someone like Paige or Daniel Bryan about their journeys with their injuries and whatnot?
Brian and I, we don't really talk about any of that stuff. More than anything, we'll talk about how to make the product better,
Mm,
and how we can improve those kind of things, or just family and life. With Saraya, from the minute we found out, I happened to be there that day that she had to retire, and so I've always kind of been a sounding board for her in terms of, oh, hey, if you experience this and if you're having any questions, chances are I've probably been through it, so just reach out.
yeah.
And just like Steve did for me,
Hmm.
it just, you kind of pay that forward, and you hope that no one's ever in that situation. But
Right.
guess what? It happens. TJ, same thing. So all different injuries, but all similar enough that we could relate to a lot of the same things we were going through. So for the three of us, for Brian, Saraya, and I, to both, or all three of us, be there, it took her to recognize it and realize
Yeah.
it. And I went, "Oh man, you're right. Like
Hmm.
this is pretty crazy." And it
Yeah.
speaks to modern medicine. It speaks to mentality. Um, And it's very, very cool.
And I think that's a good point, because if this was anything like the 80s, or the even the early 90s during the Attitude Era, that would have kind of been it. There would have been no talk of coming back.
Yeah, and even in 2011,
Yeah.
it was not the case. And to be able to, put in the work, but on top of that, for medicine to come as far along as it has, and I look
Hmm.
back and I talk to Arn Anderson and Dean Malenko and see their
Yeah.
neck surgeries compared to what mine were in 2001 and then 2012,
Hmm.
and where they're at now. Even it's just leaps and bounds, and I think it adds to the longevity of what you can actually do if, again, you do all those other things, if you maintain the diet, if you maintain your exercise regimen, all of those things.
Right. So did you at what point did you know you wanted to come back, or was it always maybe kind of always in the back of your head? And at what were you always kind of training leading up to the potential or the possibility of it?
No, it was gone. Like I truly, I was told that was it. You have no
Mm,
choice in the matter. That is it. You're done. You have to
yeah.
retire. Okay, well, you have surgeons telling you this, and okay, well, that's it then. The choice is,
Yeah.
it's gone. It strangely made it easier. So I've said before, I've used the analogy, like the ship hadn't just sailed. I mean, it wasn't on the horizon. It was on the other side
Hmm.
of the planet. It was
Yeah.
gone, and I had to be okay with that. It wasn't really until I started doing, my own stunts in productions and feeling okay. That was one thing, because even that is controlled.
Right.
A lot of professional wrestling is not controlled. And it wasn't until Sheamus came up, we did his Celtic Warrior workout, and I wiped out my mountain bike,
Mm,
that I went, okay, that was uncontrolled. That was at a high speed. That was landing on rocks. And I feel okay. I feel good. I felt actually, it sounds so stupid, but I felt good. It actually like got my juices flowing. I was like, wait, hold on a second. That's when all of those synapses started firing again. Like, hey, maybe.
there's no better feeling than getting that rush again, huh?
It's strange for most people landing on rocks at like 20 miles an hour. That would be the opposite effect. But for me,
Right.
it like woke up the dopamine and, like all that
Hmm.
stuff. So that's when I really started going, okay, if I put in the work here, like serious work, not just this, kind of dad bod workout I'd been doing, maybe if I really put, nose to the grindstone, something could happen here, and be able to end it in as much my way as I can, you know.
Yeah. And then also, speaking of guys you've been able to be in the ring with at AEW, someone like Sting. I don't think you guys ever had cross paths prior. I tried looking it up and I came across an Edge and Christian green screen where you guys were interrupting a Vader Sting video. And I was like, oh, I don't remember this dinner. And then I watched it and I was like, of course, the Edge and Christian show. Had you
Yeah,
worked with Sting at any point prior to that? Prior to then
no,
AEW?
no, and that was, there was a lot of things that happened that first night at Wrestle Dream where I was like, whoa, okay, this is happening. And not
Yeah.
only is I'm in a different wrestling company for the first time in 25 years, so there's
Mm.
that. The ring's different. Oh man, as I'm hitting the ropes, I think they're a little lower. Oh, and they're
Yeah.
cable. Okay. So all of that stuff's going on. And then stand up and, there's Sting. And we've been friends because, again, we've been through a lot of the same physical things. So over the years, we've been there as sounding boards for each other. And, when I found out some of the things he was going on, I reached out, and we've maintained a friendship since that day. But we never shared the same wrestling company. We never shared the same space. Never shared a locker room. Never shared a ring together. So to get a chance to do that, I mean, I knew what kind of man, what kind of human being he is, but to see it in action in the locker room, to see it in action, around the arena and everything. He's one of those guys that everyone should look to in terms of how to conduct yourself as a businessman and just as a human. He's just a good dude, man.
And we'll wrap it up with two more questions here. The first one is, what is the best advice you had ever received?
Ugh, wow. This sounds so egotistical. So I told myself when
Hmm.
I first started, never buy anything unless I have double in the bank.
Mm. Hmm.
And I've stuck to that all
Yeah.
my life. I think growing up without money, you kind of, you can go one of two ways. You get it and you go, ah.
Yeah.
I went the opposite. I was like, nope. This money hurts too much.
The Mick Foley approach, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Awesome. And we talked a little bit about you being out of the ring, and obviously you had to explore some possibilities, and you talked about doing your own stunts. What were some of your favorite projects kind of outside of the ring that you've been able to do? And also, who were maybe some of your inspirations in acting or movies that kind of, inspired you to get on screen in a different capacity other than wrestling?
I think Vikings was probably for me was the biggest test, and also I just loved the show. It was my favorite show on television. So when I finally had downtime after filming Haven for about 5 years, I talked to my manager. Said, "Okay, if anything Vikings ever comes up, we gotta pound." So a role came up, and it wasn't a big role. It was just going to be, maybe for a few episodes. But as we got going, Michael Hurst, who's the creator and writer, started writing more for my character. And that for me was just a really, not a vindication, but it just, okay, I'm on the right path here because it was a drama, it was a period piece, accents. There's a lot of different things to try and keep afloat there. And I loved it. I loved all of those challenges, a lot of things I'd never tackled before. So for me, the last scene for my character is standing on top of this giant whale, 60-foot whale that they built
Wow.
basically for the finale of my character. And I just thought, this is so awesome.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of the closest feeling that I've had to wrestling, where I was like, this is gonna look insane and look epic. Um, and then fast forward a few years, and we have Percy Jackson coming out December 20th, and that was so much fun too, just to work with Disney, to work in a production that size with a series of books that has such a following and such a fan base. That's a like, whoa, okay, I gotta do right by this because
Yeah.
people are massive fans of this, and attach a lot of, whether it's childhood memories, whether there's a lot attached to something that's that popular and that beloved. So I'm playing Ares, the god of war. I got to do it right. And but it's been so much fun so far. I can't wait for it to come out. So I think those are two projects that I really are probably my favorite, which
Okay.
kind of end up being the last two things I've done. So hopefully
Hmm.
that's a good sign. For me, acting wise, Hugh Jackman, for me is a guy that you always look to and go, right, that dude's
Hmm.
awesome. Stallone, man, I have always looked up to Stallone
Yeah.
in his battle to stick to his guns with Rocky and
Right.
create what to me is the most beloved character in the history of cinema.
Right.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, Denzel Washington, man, just I watch Training Day back, and just every time I just get goosebumps. I really do. There's just guys like that.
Mhm.
And I know I'm leaving people out.
Yeah.
There's just a guy like Jim Carrey. Just how much
Hmm.
it's just there's
The
so many
range,
talented
right?
people. Yeah, yeah. And I know I'm leaving out like great actresses, actors
Hmm.
as well, but I can never think of them until after.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciated. And thanks for all the entertainment and stuff over the years, and hopefully for a few more years here to come.
Yep. Here's hoping. Thanks, James.
Awesome. Thank you.